watch The Stand, but watch all their Star Trek IP shit first.
Yeah, I've heard it's pretty good.
Star Trek STD?
STD. God.
Why no, STD, Discovery. So don't put Star Trek in front of it. You just need the STD.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
Oh, smooth.
Maybe we should restart.
What? No, I will not.
Okay.
This will be permanent.
But will it? Because there's been an awful lot of silence on my end up until just now.
Joe has
Hey,
the
I'm
ability
Joe.
I'm Ken.
Damn it!
Oh, shit.
Were you waiting for me to do that?
Not really, but it worked out great. I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
We're the Rewinders, rewinding movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we paid our debt to society by watching The Running Man.
Quick question before we go too far. Dan, when you introduce yourself, do you insert the Oxford comma?
I mean, yes.
You're the only one who has the and in there. I'm not sure
You better be using
how
it.
classy we are.
Well, where'd the comma go? Because it's and I'm Dan.
Before and.
You could really set the curve here and say, Dan, I am.
I'm not Sam.
But it would be so cool to hear you say, Dan, I am.
No.
Maybe if we do Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, we should do Cat in the Hat, just so you
could.
can have the chance. That's really kind of too new, though.
But anyway.
So yeah, we definitely watched that Running Man movie. Yet another one of Stephen King's failed attempts to hit film.
Say what?
Another one of Stephen King's failed attempts to hit film. He submitted the story under his pseudonym. I don't remember off the top of my head. Richard Bachman. That was his. That was the pseudonym for his novel, obviously Running Man. And this was yet another attempt to take one of his movies. Obviously, didn't like it, which is usually the case.
What?
It's hard to imagine why.
Knowing this, now I don't like this movie. I was gonna be like positive and like enjoy this movie, but you've ruined it for me now, Rothi. Thanks.
I'm sorry.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
No, thank you, Rothi.
I was interested. I was interested to see your vibe on this because this movie has the same style and aesthetics as Escape from New York. So I thought you were gonna go off on this film.
No, this
The
is
only
what
redeeming
this was
quality-
entertaining.
Richard Bachman ruined this movie
This
for
was
you.
entertaining.
Richard Bachman ruined this for you, being so high. High above you. Wait a minute. That's a different Bachman.
So high.
Careful. with the-
Cleopatra, every day. We're done here. We're done here.
I like that song. So, no, Dan, you're wrong. This is a great movie. Let's not talk about who did what with it because it's perfect in every way. No, it's not. But I love this movie just because of what it is.
It's honestly probably my favorite good bad film. It is not a good film.
Yeah.
It's bad, but
No.
it is so entertaining. I love this movie, even though it should be bad.
Yeah, and it's one
like
of those
that.
movies for me. If we're going to go into the history right away, this is one of those movies when I found out what Arnold is, I was like, oh, let's go down a hole and see what happens. And then I watched this movie, I was like, I get what's happening here. I love what's happening here. I can't wait for 2017. And...
Oh, and how we're gonna regress with our vehicles with giant square headlights and shit. Like, I love
yeah,
how
and we're
square.
going to wear light brights.
Yes, exactly. I just love how square everything has to be in the future from the 80s. Everything was always squared and hard edges, no roundness to anything.
Do you think that that's just where Tesla pulled his Tesla truck idea from?
Maybe. He was rewatching Running Man. He was a little bit stoned, and he saw him, saw him pull up. And he's like, "Holy shit! Get my design team. This needs to happen immediately."
Exactly. Yeah, and then this is a movie I go back every so often to go back and watch every few years.
Yeah, I
Just get that urge.
Ken, I guess when was the first time you think you saw it?
I want to say it was probably in my teens at some point, but it was probably more likely in my but it was probably about mid to late teens when I could first start obtaining movies by myself.
Sure.
This would be a good movie for that age.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, totally.
I watched it yesterday for the first time.
Gotta watch it at some point.
I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
you do.
Just don't watch it before bed, because you won't sleep with all the spookies.
It's what?
Dynamo's gonna come and get you, sing you to sleep.
Captain Freedom's
gonna be
gonna
deep
be
faked
told
to
to go
death.
get you, and then he's not gonna wanna.
Just walk off set, never to be seen again.
I had to look that up before we started recording because I'm like, did he disappear? And sure as shit he did. I was like, I had to have missed it. I had to have been like doing something in the room and missed him dying. But no, luckily
Nope.
Jesse Ventura made it out of this one. He didn't get a hole blasted through his chest. We're okay in this one.
Did he just walk out, or did he actually do the scene at the end? Spoilers, where they deep fake Arnold's face onto the guy. Did they deep fake the face onto Ventura as well?
So in the movie, they use previous footage of Captain America,
Freedom.
or
Captain Freedom.
Awesome.
Freedom.
Captain Freedom.
Captain
And
Freedom.
then they just put Arnie on the other guy, supposedly.
Yeah, so
Okay, so
Freedom,
neither of them were actually in that room.
Yeah, neither one. Freedom actually had left.
Wonderful.
Basically, or whatever his name is, he kicked him out essentially.
He rage quit.
Yeah, he was going to be dressed up as a tin man.
Soldier.
He didn't want that.
Yep, jankiest looking armor I have ever seen.
Yeah.
So is Jesse Ventura this era's Sean Bean?
Because he dies all the time.
Yeah.
He just shows up as extras in a whole bunch of
Kind of.
action
I
movies
guess
to
he
kind
did,
of
yeah.
die.
I guess you
Kind
could
of.
kind of argue that.
Except Sean Bean is always a main lead.
That's the difference. That is the difference. Sean Bean is always a main lead, and he has like serious acting chops and drama.
The always
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely trained.
Sean Bean is amazing.
Jesse Ventura is just a sexual tyrannosaurus. That's all he is.
I will have to say I was delighted watching this. I forgot how much I loved him in this film. This is hands down my favorite movie with Jesse Ventura. It is just off the wall camp, and I love every single scene he's in.
His character is a lot of fun.
It is, it is. So I guess, Joe, I'm assuming you have a history with this film.
Well, yeah, I watched this a lot as, I'm going to say, before a teenager. And I think the reason why I kept watching this as a kid was it proposes a state of heightened danger. It's action. It's a little bit of future. And then it's also things like a game show, and the way it's run is very you can understand it. So I see it being that even though there's some blood, not a lot, and there's violence, there's some sexuality in it and stuff like that, those things aren't big. It's just campy action, campy lines, and it's an easy story to follow, so a child can get the sense that they're watching an adult movie, be entertained by it, and understand everything for the most part and enjoy it. I really think it just was a simple movie that I could understand and enjoy as a kid.
easily digestible.
And I would have to second that. Definitely, yeah.
And it's goofy.
It is goofy.
It's
so
goofy.
over-the-top goofy. It's not serious. It's not terrifying.
That's what I love about it.
I mean, for fuck's sake, the first Stalker is an ice skater. I mean,
A sumo.
a hockey
skater.
player. Here we go.
I gotta appease the Canadians watching.
And I mean, he's got every opportunity to take that super sharp blade that can cut through a gong and just chop away at these people, but instead he opts to play with them. And that makes it much more campy and much more fun.
Yeah,
Draw it out.
absolutely.
And then everyone at home can win their home prizes.
Like the video box set or the at-home edition.
I have a note about one of the home prizes. I have a note. I'll let you finish though.
Oh, I mean, that was the finish I wanted to get into, since we're all board game players, what you think the home game entailed.
Oh,
'Cause I
God.
think we could actually make a really fun home
Can you
game.
imagine what's inside that box?
Sure.
I imagine it's a bunch of cardboard tokens and maybe like a bobble popper, because that was popular in the 80s.
Yep, a couple of dice.
Yeah.
It could be a really fun game.
I imagine you get cards to be some dynamics of what the stalker does or what you can do, but it's probably hell-bent on the stalker winning
Correct.
no matter what.
So you remember, Rothy, the Jurassic Park game you have?
Yeah. The Escape from...
Where you're always the
danger.
dinosaurs and we're the ones who are being murdered?
Yeah.
I imagine the mechanics working a lot like that game.
Oh, for sure.
Where you got your squares, you can only move a certain amount of squares, and then
certain players
if you
have different
get caught
abilities.
with-
Yeah, I could totally see that. And then you have you could have up to 3 stalkers on the board at once, and you're moving them all around trying to stop the other players. I like where you're going with this.
Cool.
I can see this work.
I miss board games.
I do too. I obtained several more. I actually got the Shining board game for clearance on $7. It's probably going to be crap, but I can't wait to play it.
But we're not talking about the movie that we should be talking about.
No, but it would make a really good board game to eventually end up in a pile at a discount dealer for 50% off. In a pile with other movie licensed games.
Which movie are we doing this week?
The Running Man. The Running Man.
Oh, yes. That's a great movie.
Yes,
we should talk about it.
It should come with a DVD with Killian on it, so that at certain points you have to fire up the DVD and watch him do his announcing.
Oh man,
Killian.
Richard Dawson.
Isn't that
Yeah.
name's a bit on the nose?
Yeah, he's it's a great name. It tells you what's coming. It's great. It leaves no doubt for all the old ladies who are watching this. Because, I mean, in the future, nobody's going to be watching Family Feud. That's why they have to have him in a more violent role.
And in the future, no one under 40 is going to be watching this show.
Oh my god, it's all senior citizens. I don't know. It's a good mix of people.
That Ben Richards is a bad motherfucker.
Still my favorite line. I love that.
That was an interesting turn in this movie. However, we should turn back and talk about the trailer.
Yeah,
The
the trailer.
trailer.
Okay, so when I
yes.
asked you guys about there being a trailer, I watched the movie and then watched the trailer that Amazon had because we hadn't gotten a link posted in the Discord yet.
Sorry.
It's fine. No, it's good that you did because whatever the fuck Amazon has for their quote-unquote trailer, it's literally just like 5 minutes, the 5-minute scene of Arnold and Maria in the airport. It's just
God.
there's no graphics, there's no overlaid anything. It's just the scene. I'm like, the fuck is this?
I've honestly noticed that with several movies on Amazon where they don't have legitimate trailers. They either don't have trailers at all, or some movies have just a scene from the movie for like 3-4 minutes. It doesn't make any sense, and it's annoying as hell.
Other streaming services have that as well when you hover over and they sometimes play a trailer. Other things just, give you a portion of the movie, or even worse, they give you random scenes with really annoying music over the top of it.
Oh, sure.
Netflix.
Yeah.
When Netflix changed, when they changed and when you hover over a movie, it starts playing, and they had like the 5 same stock songs for every single movie. So there's always some really shitty like rock song or a horror song or some mystery song.
I wasn't going to say names.
It has to be said because it was shocking. It was shocking. All of a sudden you log into Netflix one day and Jurassic Park's playing some sort of weird sci-fi horror haunted house theme. It's like, what is going
And you're
on?
like, there's definitely trailers for this out there.
Yeah,
This must have taken more effort than actually just getting the trailer and putting it up there.
exactly. And it was shocking to go from the John Williams score to whatever the hell they had playing over the top of it. It was just ridiculous.
Not John Williams.
Yeah, it cheapens the movie for sure.
The thing that I have with the Netflix is
man.
I went and turned off the autoplay because I couldn't
a good
stand
idea.
I
like
need to figure out how to do
you
that.
have to go in through
Well,
the
yeah.
desktop app. You can't go in through mobile.
That makes
I'll
sense.
check that out too, because nothing drives me more crazy than just wanting to read about a movie and it's already playing in the background,
and
like
it's-
a train that's leaving, and you're
Yeah.
still trying to decide if you want to get on.
I can't pay attention when there's all that noise in the background. I'm like, just let me read this for a second, some bitches.
Anyway, the trailer,
Yeah, and this trailer is
it's not bad.
it's an 80s movies trailer. It's got the voiceover, which is the only way you know this movie is in 2017, as far as I'm concerned. It does what it's supposed to do back in the 80s. These days, it would actually be very corn.
It would be.
But it definitely sets up you to expect. It includes some classic one-liners like, how about a lift? And
He's a hothead.
He's a hothead. There we go.
I think my personal favorite of the entire film is he had to split.
Yeah.
These are some of the worst one-liners.
But they're so on point.
They're so bad.
They're so on point though.
They're too on point to be clever,
I love them.
which is
I don't
why
care.
they're so fun.
I love it became a running thing in all Arnold movies.
Yeah.
I found out the guy who wrote this also wrote Commando.
That makes sense.
So that tells you why that Commando has good one-liners. But yeah, I thought the trailer kind of pitched the movie being
serious?
I'm going to have to be sad to use. Yes, that it was going to be a more serious movie than what it was.
I did not expect this to be serious, only because I was seriously concerned that you guys were going to be throwing another chopping mall at me. So I did not go in expecting it to be serious.
Cheesy action movies are our thing.
Right. Yeah, this is my kind of movie. So
Hell
if I say
yeah.
it's an amazing movie, it's usually going to be because it's this kind of movie. Just like Chopping Mall. Same thing.
Twist your brain out, set it aside, and just let it happen.
Yeah.
Don't think too hard about the fact that the world is still fucked up around all these characters, that nothing got better for them. It's just a smidgen of a story inside a pretty well-developed world that is actually kind of
really
interesting.
close to reality.
Yeah.
I will say that there's a lot of things that, yes, they definitely sync up with things that are happening now. So they called some things right for sure. I thoroughly enjoyed the matte paintings in this film and thought they were actually pretty well done.
I agree.
I really could not tell seams and I could not tell cuts.
There was not a lot of matte painting transitions that I noticed immediately.
There
The
were matte paintings?
most notable, I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
would be in the helicopter at the beginning.
Yes, that's probably the most noticeable just because you can tell they're on a stage and in a rocking helicopter chassis. But
None of them are wearing PPE. None of them are wearing.
Can't hold movies to
You're
that.
a long
in a
time ago.
helicopter.
they didn't know
You can't.
they didn't know what we'd be looking at in the 20s. In the roaring 20s.
This is 3 years before the pandemic, Dan. 3 years
But
before the
it's-
pandemic.
They have no concern for hungry citizens. How are they going to have concern for soldiers who are supposed to shoot those hungry citizens?
You got a point.
I honestly love the fake edit that they do that they do when they show off on TV of Schwarzenegger just firing on the civilians. The edit that they do is so hysterically well done. I just love the way they cut that.
It's so good. And then I also love in the unedited version, they still edited out the part where they're hanging Arnold out the helicopter saying, no, don't do that. We're supposed to apprehend him.
Yeah.
And they pull him back in. They cut that part out of the unedited version
boring.
at the end. It is boring, but also
That's not important.
it was supposed to be unedited and that was still edited.
Oh, sure, I get that now. Yeah.
So before we go on, just in case anyone listening to us has not watched The Running Man and are slightly intrigued by all these things we're talking about, the movie is about a gentleman who is framed for a crime, put in jail. He is a beefcake who breaks out of prison and then game show that kills inmates for the pleasure of the viewing audience as such gladiators in Rome to keep the populace sedate instead of acting up. He sees them and says, yes, bring him on the show. I'll murder him for ratings. And it doesn't go quite right.
So very, very
That's
poorly.
fairly what
from
the movie
Killian.
is.
Yeah,
Cocky
it really
bastard.
does. And I just need to throw this out that one of my favorite things about watching these movies again is finding background characters that might only have a minute or two of screen time and noticing them from another film. It makes me so happy when that happens. In that opening where they escape after he's been sent to prison, the character, I can't remember his name, but the one that goes running off before they actually have the defenses down and his head blows off.
Carlos, I believe it was.
Was it Carlos? No,
I want to say
Chico.
it was Carlos. They
Chico.
said it about
That's right.
Chico, that's it.
Chico, because I have it open.
They said it like 500
Chico,
times.
Chico,
You're
no!
gonna die.
I have IMDb open, and yes, he's in at least 3 movies that I know him in. He's from Speed, he's from Tremors, but the major noticeable role that I remember him from is he's Carter from the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Wait,
He's when Peter Stormare
what?
wanders off to go take a
Oh.
leak. Yeah, Peter Stormare goes off to go take a leak, and Carter puts his headphones on. He's eating a cracker, so he doesn't hear Peter Stormare's cries for help after he
Oh
falls
my
down the hill.
god!
Yeah, I just caught that briefly. It's just like him running full speed towards the fence. I saw his face. I'm like, holy shit, this is great. I just love it when that little tiny detail happens. And it's like, yes, I instantly remember him from this or this or this.
Good
I
for
love
that guy for getting bit roles and a bunch of money in a bunch of movies.
it. Right?
It's not huge money, but it's consistent money, and that's important.
Exactly.
Oh, that's
There's a lot of cool bit characters. That
that's
you find.
exciting. I like this.
So, speaking of things you like,
I should maybe open my list, huh?
what are the things that you like in this
I
film?
like Mick Fleetwood being Mick, the resistance leader in this film. That made me grin.
Oh, yeah.
So much on the nose.
I had to double take when the credits were rolling in the front. I'm like, wait, Mick Fleetwood's in this? I'm like, holy shit, that is Mick Fleetwood.
It's like Tony Danza playing Tony in that one show that he was in that they had changed his name to Tony to because he never responded to the name Mike.
I mean, who's the boss?
Yep, that's it.
The intro has some very interesting CG.
Yeah, for this day and age, I mean, it was pretty good for what they did. I mean, it's obviously, it's 1987, so we are a total of 5-ish years away from production of Jurassic Park. So the standard hasn't been set yet. But honestly, the CG they used for like the computer graphics and things like that on the monitors was fantastic. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I love that we use Jurassic Park as the measuring stick to any other CG in the movie.
Yeah,
in
I
movies.
mean,
You kind of
They
have
never
to
use
change
movies
everything.
like
it really did, and that's what a lot of like professional reviews base other movies on, is the CG compared to Jurassic Park.
But the classic Lawnmower Man was let out not
No.
too far off from that movie. And that was perfection.
Ken.
Coincidentally, another failed Stephen King adaptation.
Well, I mean, we are knee deep
Seriously?
in that time period, Rothy. You could say we're actually neck deep.
I know.
We're a whole body length at this point.
I disagree with this being a failure. This is a great movie.
Yeah, Ken, Lawnmower Man, I believe, and I'm gonna look it up so I can prove myself wrong or right, but I believe Lawnmower Man was the film where it was so unbelievably bad compared to the source material that Stephen King actually had to sue to not be associated with the film in any way whatsoever.
Oh, that's so good. Then did they say produced by and then put in that name that they used?
Yeah, that one that they use for the movies that the directors don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like Dune. Yeah.
The one that they put in when people are like, I don't want my name on this, so they have to put in a name, so they just put in
Yep.
that one person's name.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. Unaccredited after lawsuit. So he had to actually sue to not be part of the movie. And he doesn't associate himself with this, obviously, either, because he didn't like the way it turned out, but at least it's not as bad on the levels of Lawnmower Man. He still was okay with The Running Man, even though it didn't do what he wanted it to do, and it wasn't what he was envisioning, to the point where he didn't feel like he had to sue it.
Makes me kind of want to read The Running Man and see how it compares. I would like to see how poorly the production company took a Stephen King IP.
I guess, Dan, the big key difference, the reason why he did not like this movie compared to his own, is really it comes down to the characterization of Ben Richards. Ben Richards in the novel, from what I understand, I did read a little bit up on it, but from what I remember, it was more of a story about a man with desperation. So The Running Man was a TV show in which you could be a contestant if you wanted to be after testing and whatnot. And you'd be selected to be on the show. Whereas in the movie, it's more of a punishment for certain ways. But
Okay.
in the book, he's more out of desperation because I think, if I remember correctly, his family's ill, or somebody in his family's ill, and then they're obviously very poor, and he wants to go on the show to try to get money to, I don't know, take care of his family or whatever. But the fact that they went from that to just Arnold Schwarzenegger being tossed into a prison for what this film kind of portrays, it's a complete change of tone for that aspect. It's a man who's desperate to try to do anything versus Arnold with machine guns coming into every scene, just blowing everybody away.
I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me.
Yes,
Okay.
very different. Plus, I liked this. I had read this last night. There was a 12-hour head start in the book. That sounds cool. So the contestants
then they're
they just go wherever, and then 12
most
hours
dangerous
later,
game instead.
That's definitely more dangerous game. Okay. I'm still gonna find the book
so
and give it a
sounds
read quick.
interesting. I definitely want to check it out.
Speaking of Schwarzenegger, can we talk about his beard in the prison?
Yeah.
It's a good
I wish
beard.
I could grow a
Oh, it's
beard
good
like
beard.
that, because I can't. And I had some beard envy. It was pretty bad.
He also makes smoking cigars look really fucking
Yeah.
cool.
I smoke cigars and I just choke all over the place.
Same here, and then my mouth tastes like shit and I get mad.
Yep.
I do like that scene where they introduce him, where he's got the beard and you see him carrying an I-beam. And you're like, no qualms about it. This guy's a beefcake. This is what we're setting him up as. It's not like Kindergarten Cop where he just happens to be a beefcake. No, this is what he is. This is what he does.
Yes, he's carrying a freaking I-beam. His hard hat is too small for his head. He's just this. let's put him in clothes that are maybe a size too small to emphasize his biceps. Just God.
This is a comically large man. We're going to send him against a guy with a hockey stick, light bright, guy with the
Light bright.
strangest
That was not a
flamethrower.
flamethrower. That was a chemical thrower. Excuse
Oh,
me.
here's our munitions expert
Still
back.
against the Geneva Convention.
I gotta say that the dude with the chemical thrower is probably the most militaristic in the entire movie, even the military people. I assume that's some sort of military prison he's in, otherwise they just mixed him in with regular Joe Schmo prisoners. And since seemed like it was a government operation to squash the hungry people, man, all those people in the prison didn't know how to use a gun. They're all just like loosely flailing their guns around. Whereas the guy with the chemical launcher like looked very controlled and comfortable running around with the chemical launcher. Probably because it was dangerous if he didn't do that, or like the flame would go out and they would lose that cool look to it. Either way, he looked like the most trained with a weapon rather than all these other people who were supposed to be trained with weapons. They were just flopping their guns around like it was nothing.
Everyone had really bad gun management in this film. Everyone.
Especially Schwarzenegger.
Just it was ridiculous.
Whipping around. I assumed you were going to say one of the things you liked, Joe, was the
Uzi with the scope? Oh, I had the same note.
Yup, the obligatory Uzi with a scope.
Fucking love that shit.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
I knew it.
The scope gets lost when she comes out on stage at the end. When she's walking in the tunnel with the red lights towards Arnie, the scope's gone.
It was on there for that one shot where she twirled around and shot the guy, but that's it.
She realized she didn't need it.
I love it when a gun is taller than it is long.
Yeah.
It looked like a gun from Star Wars.
It did.
It did.
Looked like a laser
It
pistol.
really
It had so many extraneous barrels.
Oh, it's so good though. So good.
So I don't know, guys. Favorite stalker of the film, shall we?
Oh
Oh
god.
I mean,
I have a feeling
Captain
that Captain Freedom
Captain
probably
Freedom's
would
my
have been.
favorite.
Yeah, Captain Freedom's on the list.
Had he actually went out there with the toaster on
the
his
toaster,
chest.
See,
the
I like Captain
oversized
Freedom more.
spork, and the like wine bottle opener in the chest. Did you guys see that in his chest?
Yeah. It's just this. I would have loved to have seen him in that stuff, but I think I respect Captain Freedom the most because he had the power to just say no and leave.
Oh, for sure. And he wasn't a ungrateful freak like Dynamo.
Yeah, they spare his life and he comes back and tries
Like-
to rape the girl. It's like, are you kidding me?
Exactly. Dynamo's power was really cool, being able to throw lightning. However, that was the only cool
Yeah.
thing about him.
What about a sweet ass go kart?
Stupid go-kart.
The Tesla truck.
I mean, that's where his real power comes from. That thing can drive up garbage hills until it flips over and he cries like a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a piece of something that I took away this time that I never really thought about as a child or really as a teenager or anything, is that these stalkers suck.
Yeah. Oh, they're all awful.
They're all bad at their job.
Fireball's supposed to be the
but
badass. And,
he's terrible.
he is terrible.
But as a kid, I'm into it because, that guy's throwing flames everywhere and he's walking through them. That guy's throwing lightning. This guy's got a chainsaw.
Yeah.
like-
And they build Fireball up as like the badass. It's like everything's going to hell. And he's kind of just drinking with the ladies, and all of a sudden it's his time. He's like,
Okay.
"Yep, it's time for me to head in. I'm
Go
gonna
get
solve
this
this
shit done because my coworkers can't do shit because they're dead.
Yeah, I mean, Buzzsaw for me is probably the weakest out of all of them, hands down. Just he had a crazy face, and that's about it.
Weaker than the guy on skates.
I would argue yes. I would argue yes.
The guy on skates gets layer actions. He gets the layer benefit where
His
the
ice
people
rink.
sliding around. And so
okay.
you guys remember when we played D&D the last time? There was the Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, and Future.
Yeah,
And one of them turned the entire layer into an ice rink.
yeah.
I may or may not have drawn that inspiration from Sub-Zero.
You mean just zero? Normal zero?
Yeah, just plain Zero. I had exactly that guy pop in my head. I'm like, ooh, let's do that. And we could build some weird mechanics around it so you guys slip and slide around. It didn't do much. He died very quickly.
But it's still fun.
It was still fun for me.
Yeah, it's good attention to detail. It's
Speaking of attention to detail, the second studio audience member with all his winnings, in his pile of winnings, I'm going to post an image in the Discord chat.
I am so
I
excited.
love how most of the winnings are just gifts. Like, they don't even bother trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
They're just wrapped presents.
Oh, here you got this, and you got that.
And I'm always
that's
wondering
not
if they
it.
get to keep those things or
Damn
if
it.
they actually have to...
They got a Chibi Gundam
No,
back in the 80s?
it's that Gundam model, but that it copied the wrong photo. I want this. Give me this image. There we go.
Give me this image as well. I need to
This
see.
was the side of the
Oh.
box, and I lost my shit being the Gundam nerd that I
Frickin'
am.
way.
Oh,
That this was just
I love
sitting
that.
in the pile of stuff that the guy got.
Nice. There's a lot of little things like, well, I say a lot, but to me, there's some fun stuff like that. In another scene, Killian is walking and talking, and he stops and talks to someone behind him, but over his shoulder is a monitor, and it has the ladies dancing on stage, and then it has a credit sequence running over it. And this time was the first time I actually read the screen, and it has some cool stuff on there because it was filler. So it apparently says some really funny stuff, but I caught makeup by that dude doing your makeup or something like that. It was someone needed to put in font. They filled it because they weren't told what to put on it, and then they put it there as a filler, and then it never got replaced. So it has this scroll going by that's just sarcastic as shit during like a serious quote unquote scene.
Oh, I need to go back and
love
see
it.
this.
That, and I love the posters for the other shows that ICS runs.
Oh, the climb for
So
money,
they had
Hate Boat.
the hate
Or no, it
boat.
was,
Hate boat.
was it climbing for dollars or
Climbing for
was it
I
dollars.
the
love
dollar
climbing
sign?
for dollars.
Or something like that. Yeah,
Climbing for dollars.
I think it was climbing for dollars. Oh, so good! I want to see those shows
Or
too.
whatever that
I want to see Hate Boat.
whatever that crazy
Hate
one was where it
Boat.
just said,
That's got to be
the
good.
one that was just confessed with the guy hiding behind the flag.
Oh,
yeah, like
yeah.
that- oh man.
so good.
Pain
so
American
these are all
style?
games designed that people can't win, right?
Yes.
Like climbing for
Yeah.
dollars, sure, you're climbing to get money up a rope, trying to put it in your orifices.
Pain, American style.
I really need to pay more attention. That's so good.
Oh, I love it.
I also like that some of the stalkers are obviously plucked from the World's Strongest Man competitions. And if anyone has watched those, you know that being the world's strongest man is not the world's
No.
most athletic,
No.
fittest man.
You are
No,
muscle
they're just
bound.
very strong.
They're
They
to
can lift
everything.
motorcycles.
They're very strong. You can lift a motorcycle, you can throw it, but you can't run.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's why they give them cars and motorcycles.
Yeah, physical attributes are damned if they can't have any kind of stamina.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I guess that's what because the World's Strongest Man competition was actually really big at that point in time. I remember actually watching them with my dad, and I'm assuming that's why they did that, because Arnold is not a World's Strongest Man.
No, he's
But
Mr. Olympia.
Very athletic.
Well, wasn't he Mr.
Yeah.
Wasn't he Mr. Universe?
Or Universe, yeah, that's it.
But his style of muscle is way
Yeah, it's
different.
not stacks on stacks on stacks.
Yeah, it's lean and cut and made to look good versus the World's Strongest Man, which is
Beefcake.
we're just going to bulk up. Beefcake.
BOEF. Beef.
It entertained me because I'm like, they keep saying that this isn't athletes,
No,
and I'm like, no,
not athletes.
You
They're
know,
not
Definitely not.
they're still athletes. There's still a lot of. I mean, it's weird to call the murder of people athletics. We'll call it a sport.
It's a blood sport.
But these people are still athletes of sorts. I mean, they're doing their lifting.
Yeah.
But I suppose do you consider the WWE folk athletes?
To
yeah,
a point.
I do. So yeah, I'm
Damn it,
dumb.
Ken.
Sorry, Ken.
Punchy ballet.
I apologize to all the world's strongest men. You are
mean, we
athletes.
could-
He is
when,
correct.
When they're doing the strongest men competitions, for sure athletes. Because
Yes.
that's the shit that you see in Olympics if Olympians were to set their mind to it. Instead, they decide
Pulling
to go
trucks.
for a little bit more precision. Except for there is still the
Gotcha.
lifter people, the heavy lifting people. Are the world's strongest men in the lifting bits? I don't know. The lifters never get on TV. Or at least I never see them on TV.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I've seen a few of them, but I just don't think that they're in the same category, because the Olympics have very standardized. This is how you do it. You know, snatch and pull or whatever pull.
Yeah.
You know, there's technique.
Hang
the
and
World's
clean.
Strongest Man, when I used to watch that, it was just all bull rush, flip tire, you know.
It's definitely a more
pick up with your legs, not your back. That's about it.
Yeah, that's where I was saying it's a lot less precise. The Olympics have a very precise, set way of doing things, and the World's Strongest Men are just brute force through everything. Let's throw a car in that second-story window.
Okay.
So we've been saying things that are like things we enjoy about the movie. Is there anything that you didn't enjoy about
Soundtrack.
the movie?
Yeah.
I hated the soundtrack.
The soundtrack
There's
is amazing.
so many.
Stop it.
No, there are so
Stop
many
it.
points in this movie that would have been so much better had the soundtrack not been ridiculously bad.
If it wasn't electronic, what would it have been?
I don't
Because John
know.
Williams would have been so
That's
out of
true.
place.
I never said John.
Would you like The
Williams.
Cure?
No.
Or Rush as the like? I'm trying to. I don't know
Trent
what a good
Reznor.
soundtrack.
He was in a
you win.
garage band at this time.
Yeah, Nine Inch Nails would be amazing.
Actually, no,
And Trent Reznor is
Joe,
doing-
no, don't you.
87?
Don't you dare, Joe. I'm looking up one of our past reviews here.
When
I'm
did
looking
Pretty
up,
Hate Machine
I'm looking
come
up one
out?
of our
When
last
did-
reviews here. All right, so The Crow
When did
came out in 1994. So you may be right.
This was 87.
You may be right.
That was 7 years.
Yeah.
I thought that The Crow was in the 80s, so I'm kind of shocked that we did that movie, and now I feel sad.
No. The first Nine Inch Nails album came out in 89.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So,
I-
this is the time period he was in a garage band that was doing okay, but fell apart. I believe that's what was happening during that time. And then he was doing like a one-man band until it became Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah. Why did we do?
That's your Nine Inch Nails history.
Why did we do a 90s movie? We went past Jurassic Park.
We'll never do Jurassic Park.
We'll eventually do Jurassic Park.
There's not really much to say.
We can do Jurassic Park this
There's
year.
not really much to say.
There's not
Here, we'll watch it and I will shit all over it. How about that?
Man.
like a giant triceratops.
Because I read the book first.
I did
and
too. And then I read it after. It's such a what could have been scenario.
I guess it could go more musical and less straight electronic noises, and that would have been kind of cooler. I like the exit song.
The exit song's great. I have no
Which is
qualms whatsoever with that exit song. I do have qualms with the arbitrary love story having to be shoehorned in because it's the 80s and you have a macho man megastar. You have to have him kiss the lady at the end.
Yeah.
That was stupid.
And then grab her by the neck and walk off.
I almost always chalk that up to adrenaline and just needing to do something more.
Instead of kill love,
Yeah.
after all that killing, you gotta
However,
get some love in.
it seems really weird.
It does. It's just out of place.
It is, but the love story is exactly like what this guy wrote for Commando. It's almost exactly the same.
Sure.
I love it. I love it. I need to go back and see Commando again. It's been too long.
I don't know if I've seen Commando.
I just only vividly remember the beginning.
I feel like I have.
I just vividly remember the beginning with him
So
at his
good.
like house out in the woods and with his daughter, and that's all I ever remember. I can't remember anything else.
Alyssa Milano?
Yeah.
Let's not give too much away. We'll just end up watching it
Yay.
and then talking about
Sounds
it
good
here.
to be.
Are we going to do a Arnold blockbuster Bring the Summer Back series?
Sure.
I don't care. We can whatever we want to do. I'm not going to complain.
You know what I do want to complain about? Rocket Sled.
Can we complain about the fact that 30 minutes into the movie was those longest 30 minutes I have ever experienced?
I can kind of agree with you. I think the movie would benefit from getting into the game show faster.
I would agree.
So what we should call the Hunger Games syndrome, we should call the Running Man syndrome,
Yes.
where it spends too much time fondling its balls before it actually gets into the meat of the movie.
I could put a little less terse, but that's
You
okay.
can cut that if
Well
it's
put.
too graphic.
Well put. Well put. So well put.
Like the immediate start is good. That's some good exposition, and then at some point it forgets where it is and is just walking around in circles for 20 minutes.
Like an escaped insane asylum patient that soiled himself and is wandering.
I
through
was
the
going to
woods.
say dementia patient, but that's fine.
All right, it does take a while to get into the killing. However, I feel like all that stuff kind of needed to happen in order to set up why you should cheer for Ben Richards. Otherwise, the audience turning on Ben Richards would be very what the fuck, which if you look at the audience perspective, it's still what the fuck. The audience just wants to see murder. They're not there to see the punishment of a convict who murdered 1,500 civilians who are hungry. They're there to just cheer for somebody to be murdered. And once Ben Richard kills the first 3 people, there should be no, there still should not be he killed 3 more people. Let's cheer for him now.
Yeah. They just
It's
jump
a
ship
really
to whoever's
weird turn
stacking
for
up
me.
bodies faster. I agree with that.
Right. The betting outside makes sense because you're like, oh, that's where the money is. However, the audience inside who don't benefit from, who are cheering for the punishment of the criminal, they shouldn't be turning like that. Like, everyone gets quiet and you're like, oh, yes, this makes sense. But then they start cheering for him and you're like, no, not until you see the edited version of his story should you actually be cheering for him. There is the part where he spares Dynamo's life,
But they boo him for that.
which could ingratiate you to him a little bit.
They boo him.
They
They
do,
booed him so hard.
and that's
That
the
part
point.
of the movie is one of the best things, though, because what it's doing is showing that the people in the audience are portraying themselves as being there to be better than these people who are being put on display and murdered because they are unlawful. They deserve this. They know what's coming for them because they broke the law. But when it comes down to it, they are just as bloodthirsty for murder as the people that are on the game show. It's tearing them down by their own hands, and it's actually probably one of the best parts of the movie is watching the people who think they are better turn into monsters themselves without even realizing it.
Wow, that really sets up some commentary on current events.
So good. Yes.
Nothing's happening. What are we talking
Can't
about?
accept that you are the monster as you watch yourself turn into a monster.
Yeah, that's wow. Good job, 1987.
Yep. Ultimately, what it's saying is that in order to have this kind of show, you have to be a monster.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which is why that turn is so hard for me to take, but also you are 100% right, Joe. Yeah, I'm not a monster.
But I mean, yeah, for how stupid this movie is, that is such a good play.
It's amazing that such a campy movie can make a
A commentary like
statement.
And then you have your popular guy who's leading the game show, who's full of charisma, that can lead these people all around by the nose, get them whooped up into encouraging murder, and they can't realize that through his charisma, they have turned into these people craving murder and things like that.
Now, to be fair,
Very good
it does help that he has a media source on his side to
Oh, sure.
bend facts.
To disseminate your message without worry of being shut off or shut down, to not be told that you are lying.
Yeah. Oof.
I might be saying a lot of things right now.
I did not expect to get into this territory.
Anyway, that was a good part of the movie
how do
for
they
me.
decide to give out the prizes to the audience
The
members?
audience members are
arbitrary.
chosen at
Arbitrary,
chosen at random, and then
So, yep, I get that. And then they choose a stalker to murder.
and then they just start giving them gifts.
Did they land blows? Did they first blood?
Is there some sort
Did
of
they knock
arbitrary
him down?
point scale here we're seeing? Like, is that why
Must be.
Sub-Zero is playing with the guys? Is so they can drum up a little bit more points for the the audience members so they can get more prizes?
Wouldn't that be the way to become the most popular stalker, though? And then get more pay? Would be to toy with your people so that the people watching get more prizes and then love you more, because if they pick you, they get more stuff?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think so, but you have to do it sooner than later, otherwise they're going to get away and be able to get to that tropical island. Well, okay, so for Sub-Zero, there's no way for the contestants to go away. So there's no reason for an audience member not to pick Sub-Zero because they're stuck in there with
good
him.
point.
Like when they pick Dynamo and Buzzsaw, they're able to run away. It's an open field. How did they get
I think
in
you're
here?
pointing out flaws in the movie here.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute. How did they even get him into the Sub-Zero lair? What if they put Sub-Zero into that junkyard? His skates would do him no good. They would be a hindrance.
Well, in certain parts, they had people on like motorcycles that are funneling the runners
To kind of drive them.
Yeah, so they must
Corralling,
heard
yeah.
them occasionally.
Ah,
It's I don't know.
sure. They herded him. They did herd him into the arena. Interesting that they didn't bother trying to stop the people on the microphone. What the hell? It's amazing that they didn't try to stop the people on the motorcycle. Like, oh, you're bothering me.
Yeah.
Just kick your wheel because you're not doing anything. You're just driving next to me and being annoying. Anyway.
One of the biggest things that I didn't care for was once Ben Richards signed on that he's going to do the Running Man show, they gave him like his medical. And they're shoving needles in him. They're giving him barium in his bloodstream. And one of them says, he's not going to be running for long now. But he ran forever. The man wasn't even slowed down.
Nah, because he's the most fit person they ever had on the show. He could get over the whatever shit they put in his body.
But it didn't do anything. And they never even talked about it. Because it obviously is telling you, we are hindering this person.
Yeah.
And then as the movie goes, he's not hindered at all.
Like
What the hell happened?
You can assume that one of them's like a tracker, because it says barium tracker.
Yes.
And like, so that's how they know where he is, just like the Hungry Games. But apart from that, I don't really know what the other stuff is they put in his body, and I'm wondering if they go into that in the book.
Well, this was 1987, so I'm assuming Quaaludes.
Oh. Giving them... Wait, I don't know what Quaaludes do. I just have heard the name. Does that give them an advantage? I mean, if they're drugging him up, they're doing a bad job, because they put him to sleep afterwards, and I assume he's asleep overnight, which means he slept off all the drugs.
Probably.
He just sleeps off the drugs.
What other things? This movie could not get away from the Uzi trope. At first I thought there was only going to be one, and the one Uzi in the movie was going to be held by the heroine. And then all the grunt guys had Uzi-esque weapons, and I was very disappointed.
Uzis are cool, Dan.
Especially when you put a scope on it.
Doesn't matter that they're ineffective.
Why did Richard blow up in the end? Killian blew up.
Yeah, what was behind that billboard?
Yeah. That was amazing.
That was that flammable. Like, Jesus Christ.
I love it, though. I love it. What a hell of a way to end a movie. It's just so absurd. It's just body in a cage. Boom.
So you're like, okay, Arnold, you're going to put this guy in a thing, send him down the same chute that you got sent down. He'll be in an audience.
Oh, you know.
And they'll let him out.
You know what, guys?
Because everyone loves this guy.
I get it. If you paid attention, there was no net.
There was nobody down there to catch him.
Oh.
But what was behind that goddamn billboard?
Okay.
Why did it explode?
Explosives, obviously.
Fireball's body?
No? I mean...
That's what happens when you ignite that cola?
Maybe.
Fireball.
That cola
was
could
already...
be terribly
Cadre cola?
flammable. I mean, it's cadre. Who knows?
Yeah.
But if we are going to talk about the end of the movie, we had mentioned earlier something about nothing changed. However, the media outlet was exposed for telling a lie. The major media fellow was murdered, and it was set up that perhaps this was the turn that the revolution needed. They had hijacked the satellite uplink, and so there is a possibility at the end of this movie of a positive outcome for the rebellion.
That might not entirely be true, because they did say that they only had a certain amount of time before the network would change to a different satellite.
Oh, no. That's why they were storming the TV station, was because they had to stop the people who would change manually change the satellite.
Okay.
So, and then he's like, oh, that's why I need to go. So he went there to stop them from manually changing things, which I don't know why they bothered. They never manually changed the password at the start of the movie. Like, oh, what are you doing looking over my shoulder at the password? And then they don't bother changing that.
But the other guy keeps hitting the lock button, and he's like, no, unlock, lock.
Yeah.
Unlock, lock, lock. It's like...
Which is an amazing technological battle right there. I love that so much. It's so ridiculous.
It was amazing. And of course they fix it after Carter's head gets blown off. Chico. In this movie, Chico's head gets blown off.
Which, by the way, that was very frightening as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That and the neck of Sub-Zero getting
razor bladed,
strangled with razor wire.
Ugh.
That was the two most graphic things in the movie.
Oh, no. I think for me it was the charred bodies. of the previous contestants.
Oh, sure, that would be
haunted me as a kid.
as a kid. That could be haunting.
Yep.
I think I was too detached to understand really what happened to them to understand why it would be kind of scary. It was too fantastical, I think, for me as a kid.
I'm desensitized by everything, and that scene didn't bother me at all.
Well, you're an adult, Dan.
I also just watched this movie the first time in less than 44 hours ago.
Let's say that probably wouldn't affect you nowadays, since we watched Indiana Jones with all those bodies in there. I swear they just picked up these guys and threw them in a temple and called it good. These guys, did you, the first time watching it, understand who these three people were? Because they didn't necessarily hold your hand at that point. They did say the names, and they assumed that you would remember the names.
Previous winners,
the people who won the past games. They did come back and
I got it when I was a kid.
Okay. Because I didn't quite get it until later on. The first time I watched it, I didn't get it quite later until later on when they're showing the people again, like the final cut. This is how they're doing now on the island, and then they cut from the Hawaii picture to the charred corpse, which I don't know how they got that footage to cut into it.
Because there's cameras everywhere.
Everything was recorded.
There are.
There was definitely several cameras inside the helicopter.
Yeah, everything.
It makes you wonder, like, the film has the exact same shots that are on the cameras in the movie. Oh, where's it end? What's what?
Maybe this whole movie was propaganda fed to us to make us believe something.
Maybe.
This was all doctored footage by the rebellion, so that way we would turn on the government.
Yes.
How dare you?
And the rebellion actually are the bad guys.
You need to go home, Joe.
For this
right now. You go home right now.
Done.
Damn it.
He's already home.
So along those lines, is there an opinion that has changed for you on this film, except for Dan because he doesn't apply, from when you originally watched it to watching it now?
I still like it. I'll still watch it. I mean, some things don't hold up for me, but so many things in the movie do hold up very well. So I'll still keep
This is a
coming
good,
back.
Mindless, like, just want to sit and,
it's a popcorn flick.
Just veg.
It's as mindless as you need it to be. But if you want to dig deeper, I guess you can get deeper.
I mean, we did.
Joe
got.
Oh man.
Yeah, he did, and it very much mirrors what's happening in this year already. So it's really awesome. What a point in time to watch this.
The timing is incredible, actually.
It is.
Not planned. I mean, it was planned well before it happened. I actually didn't listen to last week's episode. I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sure you cut it amazing. You cut it a lot of time, but we did decide this prior to the week's events.
Yes.
There was no grand plan. There was no cutting, so to speak.
I have to get more alcohol for next week because I am totally unprepared.
So are we? We don't know what we're watching next week.
Yeah,
Wait,
2
weeks.
Before we get to that, I wanted to also say that when I was a kid, like I said earlier, it felt like it was an adult movie that was easy for me to follow, and it wasn't too disturbing or scary. It was just silly enough. And now for me as an adult, this is goofy ass shit that... It's just fun to watch because it's Arnie saying one-liners. There's Richard Dawson or whatever. That's his name?
I think so, Richard Dawson, yeah.
He's awesome in this movie.
He really is.
Just the fact that all the stalkers suck at their jobs.
Yeah.
There's so much fun crap. And it's a fully supported Hollywood movie. It's just so much fun.
There's not a person I can point to in this movie, I said it right the first time, yay, that I would say did a bad job. They all did a wonderful job, especially for what this movie is. They could have stepped off and just been straight slapstick goofiness, but they all did a wonderful job of doing what they're supposed to be doing in this movie, and I didn't see necessarily any weak points for acting or portrayal of characters. They all did a really good job, and I really enjoyed this movie. And I'm in the same boat as you, Joe. It's when I first watched it, I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of creepy." But as of yesterday, it was it's still an amazing movie. But the camp was still there the first time around, but it's more camp and it's still fun. That's all that's left for this movie for me. Is just how fun it is.
Campy dark humor is one of the things I love.
Yep. RoboCop.
Yes.
When else do you get to see a famous, well-known game show host really let loose. I mean, seeing him actually swearing in this film, being a badass, and, like, being an asshole, it's fun.
Yeah.
That's one of my things I always took away from this as a kid.
And he's not trying to kiss anyone.
Yep. With a lot of unsolicited kisses.
And hugs.
Yep.
Does the film stand up?
Yes.
Yeah, actually more so than I thought it would, considering everything going on in the world. It got a lot of things right. It called a lot of shots.
If you're prepared for the cheese,
Yeah.
I think it holds up.
If you were,
It's
Yeah,
cheesy.
you gotta know it's cheesy
But-
walking into
Yep.
it.
Had I gone in thinking that this was going to be a more serious Schwarzenegger film, I would have been angry.
Like a racer.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Very.
That was us running the paces with the Running Man, taking home our board game version of the Rewinders podcast.
Wait, we have a board
If you
game?
could please like, rate, review, comment, subscribe, and share.
did that
will
happen?
help us grow this podcast.
When did we get a board game?
It's in the mail.
Oh, it's
in the mail.
getting
okay.
sent in the mail.
Okay.
It's in the mail. It's coming.
So we can expect it in a month?
Oh, no, it's Chinese New Year's coming up, so it's going to
Chinese
take
New
a little
Year.
bit of
Oh,
time.
shit.
Can't wait to air my grievances.
So next time, we will be watching Beastmaster. Did it sound like Beastmaster? Beastmaster. No,
Master.
Beastmaster. So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind again!
Can we rewind to the Beastmaster 2 through the
Yeah.
portal of time? All I know is on the cover there's a fucking tiger and there's a car driving through a portal.
Is that Bruce Campbell?
You wish.